Shabbat Shalom. It's good to see you here this evening, and there are folks live streaming this as well. So hello to all of you wherever you are. Shabbat Shalom. For the next hour or so, we're gonna really try to put everything from the past week aside, and really get into a place of wholeness, of peace, of refreshment, of renewal. Before all that, we'll begin by acknowledging that those of us here in the space, and probably many or most people live streaming, are dining today on the ancestral lands of the Anacostan people. So we are aware that we occupy an Anacostan and Anacostan homeland, and that their presence is imbued in these land, these rivers, islands, and coastal plains. So we offer our respect elders past and present. And if you're live streaming and you want to say where you are live streaming from, you should do that. And other folks live streaming, I believe, will be able to see what we say. But for now, let's turn to page 49 in our Siddurim for Shalom Aleichem, an opportunity to welcome in the messengers of Shabbat, whatever reminders we are seeking to help get us into that space of putting away what we're saying about the week. And this is like a good reminder to silence our electronics, even the ones in our pockets and our coats. Communal, although, live streaming, you probably don't want to turn off all your electronics, but maybe some of them? All right. 49. Shalom Aleichem, to get yours out if you haven't already. Beautiful.
Harry and I live down the street from each other.
Oh, that's so cool. Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Turn to page 3. Joe's going to lead us in Yadina. שלי 40 שנה כות בדור ואומן תוירה בהם והם לא ידעו דרכי שמעתי ברבי אם לא יבון ומנוחתי page 5 Page 7 at the diamond. צדיקים אדוני והודו לזכר קודשו. לפני הנקבה ישפוט הארץ, ישפוט בבית ועמים ומי שערים. I'm paid the diamond. Turn to page 11. And we're nearing the end of the sort of warm-up portion of our service. Hopefully we're feeling a little bit more relaxed than we were when we walked in. But if not, we've got the Shabbos Kala, the Shabbat bride coming. Or, we had a discussion at a workshop a couple weeks ago about how can we envision the Shabbat bride more expansively? Or what are we actually envisioning when we envision the Shabbat bride? Is it about celebration? Is it about this being an incredibly unique experience, like every Shabbat that we get? Is it about just pure joy? Is it about being a little bit fancy? What is it that you want coming to you in the entrance right now? We're gonna sing the first, I Actually, what melody are we doing? The one written down here right now. Is that cool? It's not the one we, okay. All right, we're doing the first, second, fifth, and final verses. And when we approach the final verse, we're going to rise and face the entrance, face the Shabbat bride. There are two entrances. So pick the one you came in from. I think it's that one probably. Like 3 half steps up from A minor. Page 16, call to prayer. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. You can have a seat. And for our blessing of transitions and the evening coming 17. Blessing of unconditional love. With a lot of details at the same time. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. יהיה חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם בלילה, יומם בלילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, ושיתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך וקומך, וקשרכם לאות לך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וצרת המזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך. I'm gonna jump to page 21, towards the bottom of the page. Words of liberation, words of forward movement into the unknown, certainly into a place of greater freedom. that on page 23, reminding ourselves of the importance of just being in Shabbat. Okay, so this week, our Torah portion, Kitisa, covers the situation with the golden idol. Many of us are familiar with this story. It's a pretty dark one. In my opinion, it's a story about many things, but what I'm feeling it's most about this year at least is a story about feeling abandoned, feeling lonely, feeling alienated. So there are these two really powerful, in my opinion, poems about the Parsha by Rabbi Rachel Barron. She writes about it from two perspectives. One, from Moshe's perspective. He has just gotten the 10 Commandments for the Israelites. He never signed up for this job, but he was willing to do it when he was called. He finally comes down from this incredibly powerful, but really intense experience with these mitzvot, and he sees the most horrifying thing he possibly couldn't imagine, the ultimate betrayal. The Israelites, his people, are worshiping golden calves that they promised they would never do. They just promised it. On the flip side, the Israelites, they didn't know he was coming back. There's a midrash, there's an ancient rabbinic story that they saw him flying away. The ancient rabbis say maybe Satan made them hallucinate that, but the bottom line is they were feeling very much alone. Rabbi Ehrenblatt puts it best. Is it weird if we have this side of the room read the first poem, and then this side of the room read the second poem? The first one, re-entry, Kitisa. Let's read together. Coming down the mountain. Understand, being up there was the best thing ever. I glowed with awareness. I practically levitated, and what I was bringing back. Torah, you can't imagine. So transparent, so pure, divine mind, open to us. But the people I'd led from enslavement to the edge of revelation forgot me, went whoring after the gaudy creation of their own wretched hands. What shattered on the earth were my heart and God's, broken beyond repair. The other side of the story. Already, so many changes. Our long column of refugees snaking into the wilderness. Through the sandal-sucking mud where the waters had been. Their men and horses consumed. And then that voice speaking directly into us, reverberating in our chests. But Moshe ascended by himself and stopped that day, and he didn't come back. Of course, he asked Aaron to make something to remind us we weren't as alone as we felt. So, this is just one of many stories in our tradition of how awful it feels to feel alone. There's one that really, really comes to mind. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the story of Tony Hamagal. I won't go, it's a whole long thing. It's kind of like Rip Van Winkle. Falls asleep for a very, very, very long time. When he comes back, he goes to the very place where he thought he would find friendship, partnership. He said he had a big midrash. When he goes there, and he's like, I'm Tony Hamagal. This was my place. They were like, we were just talking about Tony Hamagal. How awesome he was. No, Tony Hamagal. There's no way. I didn't believe him. And the Talmud says he became very upset. He prayed for mercy, and he died. And this Rabbi Rabbah says this explains saying that how people say, apparently people said this back then, either friendship or death, implying that if you don't have friends, you're better off dead. Now, do I believe that? No, because I believe friends can come around later, and death you don't come back from. But I was given a really powerful reminder that without a strong sense of friendship, death and violence can be the very, very next thing. Earlier this week, some of us had a chance to hear from some folks on, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, who identified themselves as formers, meaning former members of violent extremist movements. Neo-Nazis, anti-Semitic white nationalist movements. We heard two of them speak about how they got into it and then how they got out of it, and how they devoted their lives since to getting other people out of it through this organization called Life After Hate. The mission of the organization is to interrupt violence committed in the name of ideological or religious beliefs through education, interventions, academic research, and outreach. And one of the things the psychologist who works with them taught before the formers spoke is that a lot of folks who join the far-right movement, and this probably isn't surprising to hear, research tells us have experienced serious trauma, haven't necessarily had close or reliable relationships with their parents or other family members. They get into the movement attempting to make close social relationships because they've been, in some way, feeling incredibly lonely, alienated, and cut off from reliable relationships, especially at a young age. And this organization helps them get out through mental health interventions, which, again, it's like not so surprising that would be really necessary. It's a really strong reminder of how important it is that we know that we're not alone. And like, do I think the people here this evening are at risk of becoming neo-Nazis? Probably not, given what we're here for. But I think what we are at risk of, which I think every one of us realizes, especially after the last couple of years, we're all at risk of like crippling loneliness of some sort or another at some point or another. This Parsha, I think, is another reminder, as if we needed one, to guard against that and to do something about it before it gets really, really bad. So what I'm learning here is that if we feel abandoned, we run the risk of doing something that goes really counter to our values, like building that idol. And reaching out to people we care about, either to let them know that we haven't flown off into the sky, that we're actually right there, or that we'll be right back, or letting people know that we saw them fly off into the sky. Like, was that real, or was that a hallucination brought on by the mythical Satan? Those could be life-saving or value-saving exercises. It's part of our creation story. It's one of the very first things ever said about humanity in the entire Torah, that it's not good for a human to be alone. Especially now, February 2022, we know that very well. So my blessing for us this Shabbat and beyond is that we seek connection, find connection, and we offer connection. Shabbat Shalom. And to that end, let's send some connecting vibes to folks we know who are in need of healing, and also to each other, because I know a lot of folks in the room are in need of healing of some kind or another. So we're going to turn to page 130 of our Siddur for the Shabbat L'Cholim. And if you're thinking of someone in particular who's in need of healing, you're welcome to share their names.
Rob Lasker and Ruby Gladstone.
Ed Kiefer and Scott McWilliams. invite up our Executive Director, Alan Schusterman, to share some announcements.
Shalom. Hi to you all at home there in the live stream too. Right.
Hundreds, potentially.
We value every one of you. It's really nice to see so many of you here indoors together. This is so cool. A few quick, actually, shout out to Joe and Dan, who really enhanced it. Thanks, guys. Just a few things coming up. So, 2 weeks from tomorrow, right back here, in the morning, 10 o'clock, join us for Shabbat morning service. At 9 o'clock, that same outside weather community, will be a top Shabbat. Then earlier that week, on Tuesday, March 1st at 7:30, join us on Zoom for a virtual walking tour of a historic Jewish neighborhood in downtown DC, led by 2 staff members from the Capital Jewish Museum. The in-person tour is very cool, but apparently virtual is also more convenient. And then, the next night, on Wednesday, March 2nd, also on Zoom at 8 o'clock, is a special Holocaust program, 3 generations stories of the Holocaust. It'll feature a Holocaust survivor, 2 children of survivors, and a grandchild of a survivor, all of them Hilchot Ram members. We hope you can join us. In general, remember, go to our website for all information about any events coming up, to register for all events, and we hope to see you more and more in person, online. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Thanks, Alan. Shabbat. Let's turn to page 41 for Alinu. Alinu l'shabeach l'adonachot, לתת גדולה ליוצא ראשית, שלא עצנו כארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל ממונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 43. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו This time we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish. You can have a seat for a moment though, because before we turn to the loved ones of those present, it's our custom in this community to say the names of members of the DC community whose lives were taken by gun violence and homicide in the last month. In recent days, the community has lost Deshaun Francis, Pamela Thomas, Adrian Williams, and Vincent Robison. But we're still in the period of Shloshim, the 30-day mourning period, for Jerame Watts, Nathan Outlaw, Devin Brewer, Sierra Johnson, Terrence Brown, Ezra Bain, Marquette White, Timothy Stewart, Dasha Cleary, Tarek Booth, Matthew Murphy, Passion Pleasant, and Ernest Dorsey. May their memories be for a blessing. May we work as a community to disrupt the systems of violence that take too many lives. To our neighbors, if there are names that you're thinking of, folks who you're missing this Shabbat, whether because you're in mourning, they've passed in recent days, or you're observing a yard site, they've passed this time of year in years past, I invite you to rise and share their names or put it on the live stream.
Lonnie Michaels, Larry Michaels, and Jerry Snyder. Craig Cummings.
We're up for those.
Please rise if it's your custom for the Kaddish. Page 44. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabah. Ve'alma divrach yoteh ve'amlich malchuteh. V'chayechon u'vyomechon v'chayei tochol et Yisrael. בעגלה בזמן פריט ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיים, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום עם בומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו amen. Have a seat. Our last song is on page 45. That's Adon Olam. Shabbat Shalom, Yasher Koach to Harry and Sheldon and Dan and Joe. Thanks for all the music that you brought this evening. Live streamers, have a good night. Everyone else, we're trying to start a thing where we give folks like a couple minutes to escape if you don't want to be around unmasked people. The COVID task force has said that's a good idea before we all take off our masks for Kiddush and Motzi. So if you want to head to get Kiddush and Motzi, you can get over there. Otherwise, you can just like grab something and go before the masks come off in a couple minutes. So let's head back there. Live streamers, good night and Shabbat Shalom.